So, Hilchos Yesodei Hatorah, Perek Vav, right? So it's interesting. Yesterday we talked about the importance of Kiddush Hashem. So al pi Chassidus, it makes a lot of sense because once the Rambam tells us the basics of Yid is believing in Hashem, so the Alter explains to Tanya that every single mitzvah you're going to do is motivated by the fact that you would always be willing to give your life like Kiddush Hashem. That's how you maintain your concept of awareness. Not any of it, every mitzvah. So it's very fits with the Yesodei Hatorah as a principle. Otherwise, this particular mitzvah, that if it happens that you're in a situation where you have to give your life, why is that Yesodei Hatorah? But advice is it comes from the fact it's a fundamental of a fundamental.
Every mitzvah comes from the Yesodei. That's the Rasim of the
Yeah. Okay, Perek Vav. Again, also the fundamental of Hashem's name, respecting Hashem's name. Kal Ma'abed, this is the mitzvah, we said the mitzvah number 8 of the mitzvahs of the Yesodei Hatorah, not to destroy things upon which Hashem's name is associated. Which is, as Rambam puts it over here in the beginning of the Yesodei Hatorah, the Rambam writes, mitzvah chesed shelo la'abed devarim asher yikush ma'aleim, not to destroy the things upon which Hashem's name is called. However, just bear in mind that when Rambam counted the mitzvahs all together, mitzvah samachay 65, the Rambam said as follows. Here was his lashon. Shelo la'abed beis hamikdash, not to destroy the beis hamikdash, or shuls, or study halls. And you also don't erase Hashem's holy names. Don't destroy the holy writings. It says, destroy the Avodah Zarah. This is from Beish, burn their idolatry trees in fire. Don't do this to Hashem your God. So does the Rambam hold that all those things are Mediterranean part of the mitzvah? We'll see. So the Rambam, basically, in the mitzvah, he listed Beis HaMikdash, a shul, a Beis Medrash, not to erase Hashem's name, not to destroy a Yesodei Kodesh. So those are 5 things. Let's see what he says over here. Okay, let's compare and contrast. Halacha Aleph. Whoever destroys in any fashion, not just erasing, mind you, any fashion, one of the holy and pure names, which Hashem is called. For transgressing that lav. The pasuk that tells us this lav is that it says by idolatry, destroy that name from their place. Do not do as such to Hashem your God. Right. This is the source of the pasuk of the lav. Excuse me. Halacha beis. V'shiva shem es hein. There are 7 names. Hashem exactly that Hashem's name is called by the Yinal Eres. Hashem anichtav Yud Kei Vav Kei, the famous name of Hashem is written Yud Kei Vav Kei. Then Vu Hashem Mefresh, that's called the Shem HaMefresh. The Rambam tells us it has that title, interesting, but the point of Shem HaMefresh is, the Rambam says in Mer Nevuchim, that it references Hashem's essence. The other names of Hashem present him as certain characteristic, if you will, but this references Hashem's essence. That's what the Rambam says in Mer Nevuchim. It's not Chassidus, it's Nigla, it's Mer Nevuchim. I mean, it's okay. Anichtav Aleph Daled Nun Yud, the name that's written Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Let's keep count, right? So that's 2. The Kale, in the name of Kale, which is Hashem as, I think, either merciful or mighty. Merciful, I believe.
Merciful?
Yeah, I think so.
Mighty.
No, we'll see in a second. We'll see in a second. The Alakah in Hashem, God. That's Hashem, I think, as mighty. Because Kale is Racham, I think, more merciful. All right. The Kim Hashem as the judge. The name Ve'eya and Hashem as he's I believe eternal. Shakai Hashem who's perfect. The Tzvak Hashem as the warrior. So that's really 8 if you think about it. So the Mefarshim explained that really according to the Rambam you have to say that Yud Kei Vav Kei and Aleph Daled Nun Yud are counted as 1 because
maybe Yud Kei Vav Kei is not counted at all because
no, I don't think his opinion says that. But they're pronounced the same. Some say we're not going to the name Aleph Hey Yud Hey Ekya. Okay, so there's different opinions how exactly to square this number. Good, fine. Some say that Elakan Elikim are really counted as 1. Okay, good. That's the different ways to explain this. Halacha Gimel. These are the 8 names, or 7 or 8 names of Hashem. That may not be erased. Call it Hashem.
Even 1 letter.
Yeah, because once you erase 1 letter, you're erasing. If you only wrote 1 letter, I don't think that you have to erase that letter, even if you had intention to write Hashem's name. When you finish writing the name, that's become holy.
There's Aleph, you can erase Aleph?
No, you could, even if you had intention to write Adonai, but it doesn't become holy till the name is finished being written, I suppose. Call it Hashem, anything which is associated, which is like secondary to Hashem's name, but prior, like a prefix, that you're allowed to erase. Even though Bashas you already had in mind to bear Hashem's name, you didn't write it yet. The Farshim actually explain what happens if you write Elikim, I forgot to write not Sefer Torah. Or even Sefer Torah, Sefer Torah can be written out of order. But you forgot to write the Lamed, so I go write Lamed before. So I wrote the Lamed afterwards. That gets a little more complicated. Okay, simply speaking, if you wrote it before, it's certainly okay.
It depends if it's a patak underneath it, or if it's depending on...
No, but either way, it's a prefix to Hashem's name. My point is, a prefix to Hashem's name is, okay, let's just say you wrote it before you wrote the name as is normal, right? So, Mutal L'Mochi L'Atzir erase it, you go in Lamed Me'elakah, like Lamed of, or La Hashem, Ubeis Be'elikim, from Be'elikim. Kids and things like that, they don't have the Kedusha of the Shem because the name only gets sanctified, the Kedusha happens when you finish writing it. Right. When you wrote the Beis, you didn't finish writing it yet. And you don't say retroactively it becomes holy. They don't say that. If it's secondary after it, meaning it's a suffix. So the prefix. The chaf shel mem shel lekechem. The chaf mem shel of lekechem. The suffix. The suffix of the chaf or chaf mem. Kids and things like that. Ein chachin. They're not allowed to be erased. For ein kishar erased shel shem. They have the status of every other aspect of the name. Even though erasing that extra letter of, let's say, for example, lekecha. All you have left is Aleph Lamed Hey Yud, so Hashem's name is still there. Right. No, but still, you're still over the issue of erasing Hashem's name. Because since you wrote them after you finished writing the name sanctifies them, and they assume the him kedusha of the name of Hashem. Yeah, and so in other words, and the chayra, if you erase that chaf, so instead of you wrote Elokei, now it's Hashem's name. You added the chaf, that becomes part of Hashem's name, and you took the chaf away. Hashem's name is still there. Nevertheless, the halach is that you're going to get malchus for erasing part of Hashem's name. Okay, sorry, I made a mistake. Even though we said you get sanctified, you may not erase them because it's a suffix. So sorry, the suffix. Yeah.
Oh, the suffix.
The suffix. Sorry, the suffix. The one who embraces the suffix is not chayav malchus ma'atera. You give him rebellious lashes. Which means that there's only also midrabanan to erase the chaf velikecha. Or some say no, it's also matorah, but there's no malchus matorah. You have a concept sometimes this is the so with no malchus. So you're over the lav of leisashkus, but there's no malchus matorah. Fine. Some say malchus matorah means
there's no malchus matorah.
In this particular, that's the word. You could say that it's also matorah. It's in English a biblical prohibition, right? But there's no malchus matorah. You have such a concept that you're over the isser. Like for example, if you have half a kazayas of chazah. You're over the issue of achilas chaz ma'atera, but there's no but the sheer. You should give it a lav, but the sheer malchus.
Comes from the Rabbanan.
Well, no, the sheer is learned from the Rabbanan, but it's kabbalah achalash b'sinai. Yeah, so it's considered a deraisa. Okay, that's one example. I'm not sure if it's a good example, but some say makas madas actually means makas of direction, of instruction. I always thought pshat makas madas rebellious, from rebellious, like murder malchus. The other saying means pshat like musaf v'techacha. Okay, halacha. Cost of Aleph Lam Elikim. If you wrote Aleph Lam of Elikim, so you had to write Hashem's name, you would stop in the middle. But Aleph Lam is Hashem's name in and of itself. It's a different name, but it is Hashem's name at the end of the day.
Right.
Or Yud K May Hashem, right? Yud K from Yud K Vav K. You may not erase them. Is sorry. Yud. Yeah. Right. So, yeah. Because it has independent name to itself. This is the first time Rambam tells us that Yud K is a name for itself. He didn't tell us before. Now he implies it. You may not erase it. The Ein Tzach limiting this to say Yud K. If you wrote Yud K by itself, you shave it's its own name.
Right.
So therefore, for sure, you're not allowed to erase it. Now, why did the Rambam count it before when he counted the names?
Right.
The Rambam holds doesn't have to be specified separately because since it's a name of Yud K, which is another way of writing Shem Meferish apparently. So it's its own name, but it's its own name, but it's a part of the Hashem Meferish. So therefore, that's what the Ram didn't list it earlier, and that's why not allowed to erase it. Okay, but it's not counted independently. Fine. If you write Shin Daled, it doesn't write the Yud of Shakai. With Tzaddik Daled, Tzaddik Beis Mitzvaka, Tzaddik Beis Tzvaka. So then erasing that may be erased, despite the fact that you had the intention to write Hashem's name until you finish writing it. Yeah. It sounds like he wants to say pshat over here that that's only if you didn't have in mind to write Hashem's name. I don't know. At the Pashas, it's even if you had in mind. Fine. Yeah. He brings over here a fascinating concept that there are more writes in Shulchan Aruch that Yud in the Siddur and the right to reference Hashem. That's not Hashem's name. That you could erase. That's like a reference to Hashem. It's like very patient of Hashem. Right. Fascinating. I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm allowed to. I don't know. There's also an opinion that Aleph Daled from Adonai or Aleph He from Ekya are also not allowed to be erased. That's what our Rambam says.
Yeah.
No. Correct. So that's the Ram example. So that the question is, I don't think it's Ram this way, but the all poskim, our quotes, who hold that Aleph Dalet is also a name of in of itself for Hashem. Aleph Hey from Ekia. I'm not sure. I didn't know that. That's
Ekia, say okay, but Aleph Dalet.
Yeah, by choice. It's like just Derech Yud K is part of the name, but references the entire name. Similarly,
okay.
I never heard that, but this is what the Rambam writes in Shulchan Aruch.
Okay.
Fine. And this Aleph Hey is more questionable. Aleph Dalet is more universal. Actually, it seems that. Okay, halachei. The other terms, references that we praise Hashem, Chanun, V'rachum, merciful and kind. I don't know if there are psukim. Yeah, sure. Hashem, Kelachim, V'chanun, right? Okay. God, like you are there, right? The Pasuk calls Hashem the great, mighty, and awesome. And then when faithful, Kana, zealous, Chazak, mighty, creative, things like that. These are things not just things we call Hashem, the great one, the Holy One, blessed be He. This is actually names that are used, or references in the Chumash and in Tanakh, right? In Yirmiyah, Hashem is called Chazak. Right? So Harei who Keshar Divei Kodesh, they are like not like Hashem's name Mamish. They're like the rest of the psukim of the Torah. Don't have Hashem's name necessarily, but they have a certain holiness, as we'll see. And therefore, al pi halacha, you are allowed to erase them. Now, in Hilchos Sanhedrin, the Rambam talks about the issue of cursing Hashem, which is done by name, Chas v'Shalom. So
he uses one of these names.
So what we say over there? We said over there that he's not chayiv mis unless he uses one of the Hashem's names.
Right. Not these.
Yeah, correct. So
same thing as this.
Right. Now, what for example, God in English? What is that? Can you erase that? People use a dash because but the Rambam says in the Sanhedrin that the names that are a great reference to Hashem are a kinoi. If they're a kinoi, then according to Rambam, it's like saying Racham in Hebrew, which means you could erase God. I don't think a meaning is to do that. That's what people like a dash. I've seen people write G0D instead of a zero. That's smart. I know someone did that. That's
hard to make a difference in the zero.
Well, yeah, but it's a different character. So Din is not considered a zero.
Yeah, typing.
Yeah, but see, let's for example, I do it on the phone sometimes, like G0D. I'll do that on the computer. If you do that, no, when you're writing a taka tree, you're writing it's a little bit different. Yeah. It looks a little interesting. It's an alternative to a dash. Okay, all right. Halachavav. Kli shal yashem akashav love. You have a vessel. The Hashem's name is written on the vessel. Kodesh makam Hashem megoyins. You have to cut out the place for Hashem's name, and you have to put it in geniza. You're not leave it around. There's a good chance it'll get disgraced. So that's or you could.
If you particularly want to destroy your vessel, just the cloud.
So you could say, well, this is if you want to destroy the vessel,
it says here, even if you don't want to destroy.
In other words, you're saying that you make force to say pshat that you're not allowed to leave it around like this. It's not appropriate to have Hashem's name written on a vessel. Okay, good, fine.
On a pot.
Yeah. Right, on a pot, or what kind of keli we're talking about? If it's a special keli set aside, like a fancy menorah in a shul or something, I don't know, it could be different. I'm not sure.
A kosher or something.
Yeah. But again, even then, the question is, you can't be sure they won't come to a place where they won't be mistreated. Yeah. So you have to cut out Hashem's name. And you have to be going to it. What if it's let's say wood? Can you peel off that layer? So the Rambam actually, he quotes here from Taisa, you can't do that. And the Rambam could be agrees. Because once you write it on the outside, the whole entire thickness becomes holy. It's like all serving the purpose of Hashem's name, like a piece of paper. Okay, good. So therefore, the point is that you have to cut it out and put it in Geniza. As Ram will tell us in the Chosif Torah what the proper way to be going to something. Today we know Geniza means a shame, it's in the shul. But there's actually a process of a proper way to do it.
You drop it off here.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So you have to put that in Geniza.
If you make, you bring it to.
Wherever, these are all good options. But the point, the rest of the keli you're allowed to. At that point, is not a problem. You can treat it with how you want. Even Hashem's name was engraved. The kli matach melo keli, or the kli is or a glass keli. And you melted the keli, so you might think you're not directly destroying the name, you're just causing it to be erased. So maybe it's not as bad. So he says no, because that's as bad as actually melting it biyadayim. Actively, therefore, you have to, even if it's metal or if it's glass, cut it out and put in Geniza, because it's not possible to melt the keli with Hashem's name not being erased. You can't say it's like causing it. You consider actively doing it because it's not possible. They won't get erased. It's like a separation. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. Well, sort of, almost. That's going to be halach soon. No, I'm still talking about it soon. Hashem is written on your flesh. This is actually talking about not a tattoo, it's almost written with ink.
Right.
And but Pasha, you have to say that it's somewhat moist still, because it might get erased by water, as we'll see. You're not allowed to bathe, you're not allowed to put your oil on your skin, because you might erase Hashem's name. So therefore, that's one din. Right. Now, if you're not allowed to stand in a place where there's feces, in the bathroom, Because if it's exposed, because Hashem's name is not allowed to be in such a place. Now, he can't go to the bathroom ever. So obviously, what does he do? The same thing he does when he goes to the mikveh, as we'll see in a second. Is down with tefillah shel mitzvah, right? Over here, you have to have the korban pesach. Yeah, and he's telling me. Yeah, okay, good, fine. That's not what I tell you, I don't think, but that's also a good example. So what does he do? Kodesh alav gemi. He has to wrap some kind of shmat or a reed over it. The table, this way it's not exposed when he's not wearing clothing. The truth is, if he goes into the mikveh and he's wearing a loose robe, it could be his tefillah is good.
Right.
But over there, even so, he's going into a bathhouse, so he still has to make sure that part of his arm is covered. Even though he's not mamish naked. I still think he has to cover it. Okay.
Right. He's wearing a bathrobe?
He went like a loose bathrobe. The tefillah is good, but does that mean that if he's doing that and it covers his arm, does that mean if he's doing that he wears some kind of loose loincloth? Right. So he's not naked. So is it a problem for him to have Hashem's name exposed on his arm when he titles? I think it's still a problem because you're in a merchatz. Yeah. You can't be there. It's like being in a bathroom. Right. Okay. And therefore, if you have to go to the mikveh, cover it or read over it, something which is something cover it and title. He doesn't have a gemi, like a reed. The sav of Acha, you have to go find it. You can't listen. I tried, and I'm an oinus. No, you have to find it until you find it. And also, now I'm saying this is in Yesodei Hatorah. I'll tell us more about this, obviously. In Perek Aleph over there about this. But you can't do it too tight, because you want to make a cause of chatzitza. Right. Now, here's another problem. 1 second. If he's not going to do it tight, the water's going to erase the writing of Hashem's name.
No, it's not a tattoo?
No, it's not a tattoo. So now I'm asking this, the reason why you cover with a gemi is because you're not allowed to have Hashem's name. You're not allowed to stand in front of Hashem's name without wearing any clothing. Right? It's not pshat. You have to cover the Gemara says usually you cover with a reed to prevent Hashem's name from getting erased. That's not pshat. No. If that was the case, you'd have to do it very tight, but then you can't toivel. Right. So the Gemara is on my case where it's still wet, and they just make sure that it won't get erased, and therefore you have to cover it. It's add that. Now, if it's so dry, then it wouldn't be a concern about the water coming there. Yes, fine. Okay, that guy would have to caution you about the hadik. The guy wants him a hadik, it shouldn't get erased. So the question is like this: why is it not a table? So the vart is the tefillah is mitzvah. That's the vart. It's not a psik ratio. It's not for sure going to get erased.
No, forget about erased. It's not going to be a tefillah.
No, that's why it's not. Why does that have to balvar and don't do it too tight? The reason why balvar don't do it too tight is because if the guy wants to do it very tight. Don't put a shmat on your arm. That's good enough. Why would I want to tighten it? He wants to tighten it because he's worried about the name getting erased. So now the question is, why is it okay to table with the shmat on your arm loosely? The water is going to cause it to get erased. So the answer is since you're not doing it actively, and it's a tzarech mitzvah, that's the word. Yeah, halacha zayin. So in other words, if it's so dry that there's no mechashish, then it's no concern. Put a shmat over it. It's that tattoo for sure. Put a shmat over it and then just table. Okay. A person who destroys even one stone in a destructive manner, as opposed to he wants to destroy it to make it bigger or better. Then the mizbeach of the mizbeach and the heichal from the heichal, which is the actual area where the Kodesh HaKadoshim and the Kodesh was, and Mishar Azor, the rest of Azor, which is the wall that surrounds the mizbeach and the heichal. Loik is chayav malchus for the same lav Shem. It says, Avodah Zarah, Kiyas b'zechayim v'teitun, destroy their altars because when it says the sasik and Hashem not to so to Hashem. Is this the same pasuk we quoted earlier? No, that pasuk was in Devarim. This pasuk is in Shemais.
It's the same pasuk.
It's not the same pasuk. So that's interesting. So it comes out. So 1 second, is it the same lav or is it a different lav? Yeah, it's one lav. One mitzvah. One mitzvah ches is shaloi la'abed dvarim nishikish ma'aleim, not to destroy things upon which Hashem's name is called. Nice. Interesting. And here the Rambam is a pasuk in Devarim, in Shemais, in Halacha Zayin. That mizbechos b'teitun, and then it says leisasum kein la Hashem. Yeah, that part is from Devarim Beis Yud Beis pasuk Dalid, which is the same pasuk we had earlier. I think. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So one pasuk. Good. So that is the pasuk. 1 second. I just want to see something else. Fine. Similarly, that's in terms of smashing. If you burn Atzei Kodesh, then now here I don't actually smash it. I took a lighter to it, and the fire burned itself. That's considered also destroying it. Yeah. A person who destroys anything wood which is part of the holy wood, which is part of the Mizbeach, part of the Beis Hamikdash, not the wood that's just stored for the Mizbeach. That's something else. But Talmud was actually used to build part of the Azara. And the truth is, even though you're not supposed to, I'm going to tell us in Beis HaBechira, you're not supposed to build. You're not allowed to plant trees in the Beis Hamikdash, and you're not allowed to build any exposed wood. Right. But vice versa, if it was inside, if it was surrounded by stone on all sides, that's okay. So if you destroy that, if you burn that in destructive fashion, not to remodel it, like it says, "Vashem their trees you burn, don't do such to Hashem." Right. So that's therefore we learn it's also a problem. Now again, okay, good. This is the same issue. It's one law of destroying things upon which Hashem's name is called. So far we learned you can't erase Hashem's name, you can't erase, and you can't destroy any part of the Mizbeach or the Beis Hamikdash, the Heichal Hazar. Vice the Ezra's Nashim or the rest of the Harabayis, that the structure, the built part is not crucial. There was a wall to kind of know what's in, what's out in terms of if you're talking, you can go in. But it's not a mitzvah to build a wall around the Harabayis necessarily. Right. The structure of the Beis Hamikdash is the building the Heichal. That tells us the Beis Hamikdash. You have to make a building. You have the Shulchan, the Menei, and the Mizbeach Keteiros, a wall around that. You have to make the Mizbeach and a wall around both of them. So that's the Chiv of the Mizbeach, of the Beis Hamikdash. Excuse me. All right. Kisvei Kodesh, holy writings, meaning Tanakh. Megillah Esther, for example, yeah? Hashem's name isn't there last time I checked. But for example, so Kulam, all of them, all the 24 books of the Tanakh, Upeirashin and the translations, meaning the Targum, Upeir the explanations, right, with Rashi and all the other, and actually, I guess all Teresh Baal Peh, Mishnah and Gemara even goes in that category, the Pashtus, right? Asulu Seif al Yad, now let them burn them or destroy them by hand. What about before the David Nasi? You weren't allowed to write down Teresh Baal Peh. Right. If I chose to be a sheikh, I wrote down a whole set of halachas. Does it go in this category? The answer is yeah. Although one may not write it, if it was written, it's an us to destroy it. Yeah. Today for sure it's also right. Good. So now let it burn them or destroy them by hand. But, the word biyad is crucial to actively destroy them. Right. That's really with the us. Right. And also now that it causes the isser to learn, but also that it's more severe if you do it actively rather than passively. Right. The person destroys the Kisvei Kodesh. He burns Megillah Esther. He burns Megillah Eicha. Megillah Eicha has Hashem's name, right? Yeah. So that's not a chiddush. So Megillah, yes, he burns it in purpose, or part of, or psukim that are. He writes 3 psukim on a cloth. It's not a sefer Torah. He writes down 3 on a piece of paper even. But he writes it in pen. He destroys it actively. The person destroys it actively. Like makas madus, he gets makas midrabanon. Yeah. So why is it only midrabanon? Because why is it only midrabanon? I guess vice is these. Even though. Okay, again, the machlokes is it also Torah, the Malchus? The Malchus only for destroying the Beis Hamikdash, or actually the name of Hashem, but these things also Torah. Or you say no, it's Bechal, these only Rabbanim. Oh, right, that's the why. Because remember, the Rambam told us in the mitzvahs, it's Samachei, he added in very clearly, besides for Hashem's name and the Mizbeach, he added a shul, a Beis Medrash, or any Kisvei Kodesh. That's why it's a conversation about if it's considered part of the Leis say or not. Right? So Beis Hamikdash, Beis Knesses, Beis Knesses, Beis Medrash, yeah, and Kisvei Kodesh. Okay, so here it sounds like I'm putting it in mitzvah Samachay, the counting mitzvahs. You would think it's about Torah, but apparently lav dafka. Okay. Bamed v'mamur, when it is true, they now destroy Kisvei Kodesh. B'Kisvei Kodesh shekasu eis nisal b'kedusha. It was written by a Yid who wrote it with holiness, with the awareness that the Megillah Esther is a part of Tanakh, for example. Avol min Yisraeli, a person who's a Jewish heretic. Why dafka Jewish heretic or a Goyish heretic? So you might say for sure Goyish heretic. Or you could say no. There are actually some say pshat dafka Yid, right? But because a guy, it doesn't have, there's nothing gay. Yeah, there are Gesharah. Are you allowed to accept the carbon oil from a Yid who's a min, a kafir? No. What about a guy who's a Zara who believes Hashem is one of the gods on Mount Olympus? You could accept the carbon. So Kubidam means dafka Yisrael. Okay, good. A kitzer. So if they're written by a Yid. So B'medon because Kodesh should cost you Yisrael b'kedusha. Avol min Yisraeli, a Jewish heretic, right? A conservative rabbi who doesn't believe that Torah is min. One of the things that makes a person a min. There's 5 things Ram tells in the Cheshuvah. It's actually today's Tosha Prakram. What makes a person a min? How do you qualify? There's 5 things. The person who says is that there's no Hashem, A person says there's two Hashems. Now, I'm more from than you. You only believe in one Hashem. I believe in two Hashems. Okay. A person who says that Hashem's name has an image or a picture or a structure, a tzir. A person who says Hashem is not the first cause.
Wow.
What else? I missed one.
Even Moshe wasn't in the dawn he also got punished and he wasn't even there.
Yeah, a person who basically serves a star, and believes like one of the stars or mazals are intermediate in Hashem. Okay, so Kapanim. So the Jews, like in my example, of a rabbi, he doesn't believe that Torah is min Hashemayim. Moshe wrote it on his own. That would be a kofer. Sorry, not a min. Okay, but I think it would be the same thing. Any event, so this person becomes good Safra, so he writes the Sefer. You burn the Torah with Hashem's name written in that Sefer Torah, in that. Now, first of all, the question is, why allowed to burn it? Secondly, why do you have to burn it? So now he says, he doesn't believe the Kedusha of Hashem's name, this person. He'll say, wait, of course I believe Hashem's Kedusha. I believe the two Hashems. No, that's not considered believing in Hashem. But in his mind, he's writing it like writing anything else. He's like writing literature. Hashem not become sanctified, and therefore no issue to burn it. Now, why is it mitzvah to burn it? So now mitzvah it's a mitzvah to burn it, right? You shouldn't give any renown, any validity, any memory to the minim and to their deeds. If a goy writes Hashem's name, going to this, that's how it goes in Shemish. Why? Because it's no mitzvah to burn it. Now, are you allowed to burn if you choose to? No, because maybe he had in mind for Hashem, in terms of if a guy is matish something, even if he believes that Hashem is one of the gods, we learned that what was it, Tamura, I think, that comes Kaddish. So that's over here, that it has a certain Kedusha, if you're not allowed to burn it. So going to the say, rather than burning it, and perhaps you're not allowed to burn it. Now another thing is Sefer Torah that gets worn out. A guy writes them. And therefore they're puzzle, even if it's not Hashem's name, because the thing of the Gil's after. You go and it goes to Geniza. Because the halach is you have to put in Geniza if it's not useful in Hilchos Sefer Torah very good. We'll learn about that when you do a Sefer Torah gets worn out. Okay, more about that over there. So before that, I'm talking about Hashem's name written by a goy. He says that is considered holy, right? Now he says, what if a goy writes Kisvei, he writes Psukim? You hire an Israeli Arab to write for kids. There's no printing press, so you hire Israeli Arab back then. You hire an Israeli Arab to write school books for kids. He writes out of Chumash, and he doesn't write. So the halacha is that you put in Geniza, put in Shemus, halacha tests. So to write a mezuzah or tefillin or sefer Torah for sure, guy is possible. That's no question. But kisvei kodesh doesn't necessarily mean it's mitzad dinim. It could be he writes with a pen on paper. He writes out Megillas Esther, let's say, or writes Megillas Esther on coffee. That's not okay, right? Or he writes a few psukim that's in the Torah. Again for the purposes of these school kids. Okay. Test called Shemus. Now I'm just going to go through certain parts in Tanakh where are those names considered referencing Hashem. So Kol Hashem is Hamurim Ba'Avram, where it says Ba'Avram, Hashem's name, everywhere Ba'Avram, Kodesh is Kodesh, and therefore it's written, it has to be put in Geniza, put in Shemus. Derek Hag, I want to say something else. Ram says over here that if the Kisvei Kodesh get worn out, you must put them in Shemus. He's talking about this form of Tanakh. Does the Rambam hold if the Gemara gets put in Shemus, or a Torah Shabbat Peh? So some just want to be medayik. The answer is no, according to the Rambam. But okay, that's just the minig is not like that. But okay, halacha that's called Hashem is Hashem's name that's written by Avram. Whether it's whichever name Hashem is, Kale, the Keel, I don't remember all the names of it. Kodesh or Kodesh. Av says now even the pasuk which says when he says Adonai Yimnom Etzchem Minecha, right? I'm not sovereign Ma'avdacha. And some say Pshat is he's telling the three guests, hold on. He's talking to them. You guys, please come in. And we learned the other pshat right in Rashi that what he's saying that Eivishter, hold on, I have to go guess. The Rambam says they have to be chayshish, that they have to that pshat is valid, and therefore it is considered a reference to Hashem. Up he did. Yeah. Call Hashem as the most beloit. Anytime Hashem and the light says to the Malach, my masters, does he mean my masters Hashem, or means the Malach, the people? So it's chayil because he thought they were regular people, not referencing Hashem. Except for the pasuk because it's Alna Adonai Imnom Etzchem Beinecha. No, it says, my master, please, if I found favor in your eyes, spare it sayar. So there, he's referencing Hashem. But Harai, he says, Lahaches es nafshi, spare my life. So we see clearly, at that point, he understands that the Malachim are Malachim, and he's addressing Hashem, like Rashi says in the pasuk over there. That therefore it's kodesh. Call Hashem b'samus b'givas binyamin over there and givas binyamin and the shaftim. Pasha Chaf. It describes over there how Shevet Binyamin took a certain a concubine of a person. They abused her and they killed her. And it describes over there how the Bnei Yisrael gathered together and waged war against Shevet Binyamin. And the first 2 times, and they asked Hashem, for his approval to the Pasha Tunim, and they lost twice. The third time is Hashem started giving it to your hand, and then that's when they almost killed Shevet Binyamin. So there's an opinion in the Tanoim that they were actually asked, reference to Hashem as the name Alakim over there is referencing that they were asking Avodah Zarah, some kind of tishuf. But the Paskin that is actually referencing Hashem, and therefore the Rambam Paskins that it's Kodesh. Kol Hashem, as well as Micha, all the names of Hashem referenced by Micha, which is actually 2 prakim earlier in the Shif. I don't know whether I mentioned later. But this is they found this Levi and they made him like the little Kohen Gadol in their personal base on English over there. So over there they're chel because they are referencing Avodah Zarah, not referencing. When it says Lakim over there, they're talking about their God, not actually Hashem. Hashem is Hamuris Benoves. When it says in Noves, the Ma'aseh over there, when Achav wanted his neighbor's vineyard, his cousin's vineyard, he couldn't get it, so they hired people to falsely accuse him of cursing Hashem. So they're falsely accusing him of doing what? Of cursing Hashem. But they didn't accuse him of worshiping Avodah Zarah. So when they say Hashem's name over there, that are very different to Hashem, they mean Hashem's name. So it's references, therefore it's Kodesh. Those names of Hashem are holy. This is fascinating. Kol Shleim Ha'omer B'Shehashim. When it says the word Shleim and Shehashim, it says many times, the several times Shleim. Kodesh is referencing Hashem. Now that I'm saying it's Kodesh, does that mean it's like Hashem's name, you can't erase it? It's like a reference to Hashem, like Chan V'Rachim. If it's a Kinoi, it's not Kodesh Mamish. What was I saying then? So it's a little interesting. So last time around I said Pshat, I don't know where I got it from, that he means it's like Hashem's name, but it's not Yud Kei Vav, it's not Hashem Meferish. And therefore you can't erase it. It's like Tzvakais, it's like Shakai. I'm not sure if that's correct. Another Pshat he says over here is that Ram is telling you could erase it, because it's like Chan V'Rachim. So why is Ram telling us Kodesh? Because he tells us in Hilchos Shavua, if a person makes a Shavua in the name, I swear in the name of Racham V'Chanun, that has a certain concept of a Shavua to it. In terms of if he makes a Shavua, he doesn't owe money, he really does owe money, he's chayav a book of carbon. That's what he means over here. That makes a lot more sense, because the word Kinoi, it fits more with an expression of comparing Shleima to Chan and V'Racham, rather than comparing Shleima to Tzvakas or Shakai. What's the problem with that Pshat? Why is Ram telling us this over here? It's not a Geya, it's a Geya Chashvuas. That's how you, so the bottom line is, person erases the name Shleima in the Shir. Is he chayav Malkus? Depends how you learn Pshat, this Rambam. If you learn Pshat like Kinoi means, it means it's like Shakai, Yud Kei Vav, it's Shakai Tzvakais, but I could do Kei, then yes. If you learn Kinoi means it's like Chan V'Racham, then no. Good. Not advised though, either way. Chutz miyazeh, except for the one that says, the pasuk says over there, it's Perek Ches with the pasuk Beis, Karim Yishul Lefanai, my vineyard is in front of me. Elef L'Chashleimai, do you have 1,000 to you, Solomon? And he continues in Masayim Noetrim as period. The pasuk is saying, basically, if Shlomo Melech, if he puts several thousand people to do this job, he'll leave a few hundred to learn Torah. So that is referencing Hashem, and that is considered. That is referencing Shlomo Melech himself, not Shleima, because not Shleima, in other words, everyone else says Shleima, it's referencing Hashem, who is Shalom Shaloi, Hashem who is the complete and perfect. Okay. But the word Malchaya in Daniel, the truth is the word Malchaya in Daniel, in Sefer Daniel, is only said twice, but by Daniel himself. But other times in the Sefer references Melech, it refers to Chayil because it says Nebuchadnezzar. Even though there's a way to explain, he was actually hinting a tefillah out loud to Hashem when he said to Nebuchadnezzar, my king. There's a Mefarshim who explained that he was saying to Hashem a tefillah out loud, referencing Hashem. Nebuchadnezzar didn't know that, but the point is that I'm pasking it's Chayil. Chutz mizeh, Ant Malcha, Melech Malchai, you are the king. Melech Malchai over there, it's like a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, again a kinoi, because he was very clearly referencing the Eibishter, not Nebuchadnezzar. You know, there's a very famous song Devot sings by Shabbos Tale, right? Those words were written by Nebuchadnezzar.
Really?
They were said by Nebuchadnezzar. He praised Hashem. After Daniel, what was the Ma'aseh after Daniel interpreted the dream, I think it was? And it says that the Malach came and smacked him to shut up, because if he kept going with his eloquency, he put the Malach to shame. So those words that were used by the Shabbos table, they didn't come from the Sefer Daniel. They come from... Yeah.